Welcome to the PIF Playback. My name is David Ray. This is the show where we do an overview of what happens at the Prairie Improv Federation shows. I'm actually going to do it a little bit different than I've had it in the past. I'm going to try to do a summary of the show instead of doing a moment-by-moment retelling of the show. That way it can be a shorter video and then you can move on with your life instead of watching a 20-minute video. So let's get into it and find out what happened at Funny in the Bank. The main hook to the Funny in the Bank pay-per-view is the Funny in the Bank briefcase. In this briefcase is a contract that can be used by the holder of the briefcase. They can cash in that contract anytime in the following year to get a title shot. It adds a little bit of an extra surprise because you never know when they're going to use it. And that's what the competitors, Hope Joygood, the Lone Stranger, Danielle Sunshine, Gunny Mountain, and Pennywise Varscona are going to be competing over, hoping that they can get a title shot against the champion sometime in the future. The other main thing that's happening is the main event, where Big Daddy Dalton, who had won the #1 contender spot in a previous PIF, he's getting his match tonight against the champion, the Intergalactic Improv champion, Trudell Moore. The major event that happens in this pay-per-view is actually the absence of the Lone Stranger. When he was called out during the superstar introductions at the start of the show, he doesn't show up. He's nowhere to be seen. And we find out that he's been poisoned. And poisoned not just by anybody, but by Trudell Moore, the Intergalactic Improv champion herself. She did not mean to poison the Lone Stranger, she meant to poison Big Daddy Dalton, who is the person challenging for her title. So in this, she admits this fact to Pennywise Varscona and tries to make an arrangement with him to help cover it up, and also for him, encouraging him to win the Funny in the Bank contract, so that way, you know, they can be kind of an ally together, and she can kind of protect her championship.
If this belt loses my hat, I will slit your throat.
Pennywise agrees to this deal on the condition that Trudell Moore is able to get him in contact with the owner of the Grindstone Theater. Pennywise owns all of the other theaters in Edmonton, and he desires possession of the Grindstone.
You bring me the owner of the Grindstone, so I can have words with him, or them. I don't know.
Who's to say he's quite an ominous fellow or person?
With the poisoning of the Lone Stranger, this inspires Hope Joygood to go out and try to find out who did this, because she had made a friendship with the Lone Stranger, and you can kind of see that she might have some feelings for the Lone Stranger. That's just me kind of reading into things a little bit. I might be wrong, but clearly, at the very least, she cares for the Lone Stranger. So she spends a lot of the show trying to figure out who is the culprit. And initially, she believes it to be Gunny Mountain. She believes that Gunny had a motive for doing it.
You know, I know that you're craving a fatherly figure in your life, but that doesn't mean you had to remove the other fatherly figure from PIF.
Lone Stranger?
That's right.
I didn't take him. I wouldn't do that. You know I have abandonment issues. It's left on Highway 4 with no mother or father to speak of.
Now, not only is Hope Joygood trying to figure out who poisoned the Lone Stranger, she also has to deal with Big Daddy Dalton. Big Daddy and Hope do not get along. It's almost like they're competing to see who is the nicer person, and it leads them to be bitter rivals. And this also plays out with their treatment of Gunny Mountain. Gunny is kind of like a surrogate son to the two of them, and Gunny does not have parents of his own, and he looks up to both of them. And when these two start fighting, it sends Gunny into turmoil. So in this pay-per-view, we actually see the two of them have a match at the start, which is going to be interesting. a little bit later on.
I guess the better parent won this round?
You don't have to prove you're a better parent to me, Roger. You never did.
Gunny Mountain, who not only has to deal with his two surrogate parents fighting and feuding over him, he also has to deal with his own personal issues, as Danielle Sunshine is there at the show. Danielle Sunshine is kind of like this hippie kind of an individual, and Gunny kind of represents the oil industry in Alberta. But it turns out that they have a much deeper connection than just that. They have also a personal history and background. And in a flurry of twists and turns out they are very closely connected.
Divorce is hard.
Yeah, you know what makes it even harder? The fact that I haven't seen our kids in 3 years.
It was a beautiful relationship, you and me, and our other husband.
I need to bring Max into this. Okay? He doesn't want to be found, and you know that.
Danielle and Gunny have a match to kind of resolve their issues. And right after this happens, we actually dive straight into the Funny in the Bank briefcase match. It's a fantastic match itself, and at one point that you saw Gunny, Danielle, and Hope Joygood all having a competitive match. They're all trying to be the last ones holding onto the briefcase at the end, with no sign of Pennywise, until this significant move by Pennywise. When Pennywise did that, I actually thought that he won the match, that he was going to take it. But the others actually kind of keep the briefcase in the scene so that Pennywise didn't walk off with it. And in the end, it turns out that Hope Joygood wins the match and wins the briefcase. Which is significant because right after this match happens, Winston comes in to reveal security footage to Hope Joygood. And she finds out, once and for all, who poisoned her friend, the Lone Stranger. So now that Hope knows that Trudell Moore is behind it, she is heartbroken because this is somebody that she looked up to, and to see Trudell acting in such a way bothers her. So she decides to take her briefcase and cash it in immediately. She is then added to the title match at the end of the night. So now it's not just Big Daddy Dalton versus Trudell Moore, but Hope Joygood is added, and now we have a triple threat. And what's interesting is that Hope wants to make sure that Trudell gets her comeuppance. And so she makes a deal with Big Daddy Dalton to work together to make sure that Trudell doesn't win. Now Trudell, who is kind of, inspired by her desire to hold on to this belt at all costs. That's what led her to poison, or attempt to poison Big Daddy in the first place. You can see that it's all falling down around her. She realizes that she's outnumbered. It's 2-1. And she doesn't even do the greatest improv in that title match because there's like a thin veneer of a character as she is just outwardly attacking Big Daddy and Hope.
Hello, it's Bozo here. My name's Daddy Dalton.
And it's a bit of a mess on her end. And that's why it leads to Hope Joygood being declared the winner. She somehow, this underdog, overcame Trudell and in such a way and made things right.
Poor thing. You're just so desperate for validation. I realized it was too far to touch you. I'm on a bit of a power trip, and I thought I could level with you. I own that.
Trudell is heartbroken after the match, and she needs Pennywise to take her off the stage. And it leaves Big Daddy with hope, and they decide that although this was good and she was thankful for his help, that they need to go back to being rivals. Like, this is not tenable. And
Hey friends,
and it's a heartbreaking moment right at the end.
I hope you win the belt, but we're too dissimilar.
It's true. There are a lot of differences between us. So that's it, I guess. We just go back to our little rivalry.
It has to be the way it has to be.
If that's the case, then I guess.
I support Ted.
And so Hope, who didn't seem like she had a chance in the world at winning that championship, she wins it. However, it comes out as kind of a bit of a hollow victory. Her friend is poisoned. This person that she could have made amends with is now back to being her rival. This person that she looked up to has betrayed her and the rest of PIF. It'll be interesting to see what happens to Hope Joygood in the next episode of PIF, which will be happening on Saturday, right away here. This video is a little bit late coming out. It's going to be the pay-per-view known as Roasting Grounds, where Hope Joygood is going to be defending her title, her first defense of the title, against Liam the Cape Canaveral, who it's unclear how he became the #1 contender. That kind of came out of nowhere. He hasn't won a match to lead him to this point. So you think that there might be some backstage politicking going on, as it has been proven in the past that Winston has shown favoritism to Liam the Cape. What will happen? I don't know. You should come down to the grindstone and check it out for yourself. As much as it's great to watch these videos up on YouTube, and you can watch the past full episodes of PIF if you'd like, here on the Sorry Not Sorry YouTube page, but I encourage you to come see it live. We have a show there every Saturday night at 7 p.m. Sometimes it's PIF, sometimes it's YEG D&D, Improvised Dungeons and Dragons show. Sometimes it's something else. If you want to know what's going on, what show you can expect, you should follow Sorry Not Sorry on social media. Sorry Not Sorry Productions on Facebook, or SNSYEG on Instagram and Twitter. And you can keep up to date with what's going on. Anyways, I want to thank you very much for watching this episode, and we'll see you next time.